Hello everyone and happy Thursday. Welcome to Q&A with John. I'm John Gary from John Gary TV, and I'm super excited to have you here for today. This is episode 5 of Q&A with John. So today, I think the theme of today is overcoming obstacles. I think that's what we're going to probably title this when we're done. If you are joining us live, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. We are live streaming right now to YouTube. We're also live streaming on our website, johngarytv.com. So you can watch us either on our live page there, or you can watch us live streaming on YouTube. Once, once this is finished, we'll be posting this broadcast on YouTube. It'll be there for you to watch whenever. I'm also going to be uploading it into a blog I write after the show is over. And so we'll be putting it up there as well, so you can catch it there. That being said, this is Q&A. So if you've got questions or comments that you'd like me to address, you can sign in on our website. You can sign into the chat, and on YouTube you can just go right into the chat box there as well, and say hi. Mike is standing by on both sites. Adam is also not only running the camera and watching everything that's going on behind the computer, and he's going to be throwing up the B-roll, etc. He's also monitoring as well. So they'll let me know if you guys have questions. I'll also be checking in here every once in a while to see if there's anything in there that I need to talk about. So we've got a great show planned for you today, and I'd actually like to start off with a comment we got since the last show from Cindy M, and it was about our recent athletic reformer workout, which is on johngarytv.com. It's quickly becoming one of our most popular reformer classes, and Cindy says, quote, "Challenging workout, loved it. Your notes and pictures are the best. Please keep it up." I love starting on a happy note, and so that's why I wanted to bring that up, and also to remind you that on all of our workouts on johngarytv.com, we post the notes that go along with them. So it's a perfect addition for an instructor to download the notes and take them right into class. So I'm going to post that workout in my blog, a link to that workout in my blog later, so you can check it out if you missed it. But thank you, Cindy, for that comment. On this week's show, I'm going to do a quick recap of last week on John Gary TV. I'm also going to read a few more comments and questions that we got, both submitted prior to the show, and of course as we move along, if we've got anything for me to address right here. And then later in the show, I'm going to talk about a book I'm reading called The Obstacle is the Way. Actually, I read it, but I want to talk about that later. It's by Ryan Holiday. It's a really good read, and it's a great way to approach any obstacles you have, be they in your business, in your training, physical training, or just anywhere in your life in general. So I'm going to talk about that later. We're going to cover some of the most important aspects of it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the mentor box, which I'm obsessed with, and that's where I got this book from. So we'll talk about all that later. But let's get started with the recap of last week on John Gary TV. So first, on Monday, we did an upper body reformer workout, and I was joined by my partner, Mike. I took him through it's a long one. It's a full hour workout. So I took him through that workout. It's about almost an hour long. So there's tons of content in there. It's also a really good workout if you work on your own or with someone 3 times a week or 4 times a week on the reformer. It's sometimes good to do an upper body session, a lower body session, a core session, and then maybe a full body session. So this will be a great one for upper body, or you can just take segments of it and put it into your current routine. So check that out as well. And then on Wednesday, also the dogs are in that one. You probably saw that in the clip. They made a cameo. Bam Bam and Rocco love to be on set. And then on Wednesday, I did an express power mat workout. So this is a 15-minute workout. I teach a cycle core class 3 times a week down at John Gary Fitness and Pilates, our studio in Long Beach, California. And it's a cycle core, so it's about 35 minutes of cycle, then 10 minutes of core. So this is some of the exercises that I put in there. Some of them are Pilates-based, some of them are fitness-based, and I think you'll really enjoy that. It's a great segment to throw in after your cardio workouts, or even just to make it part of your reformer workout. So check that one out as well. And then I want to talk about, we're going to have another video coming out this week. We haven't shot it yet. And this is all about our Take It Off 2017 program. It's my personal body transformation program. And if you're following me, you know that I'm not about. In June, I'm going to be doing another men's physique competition in Riverside, California, the West Coast NPC Classic. So I'm excited about that. But this past week, I don't know if you can tell, and I'm about to cough. So okay, I'm not going to cough. All right. So this past week, I've had a pretty bad chest cold. That's why Mike helped me out on Monday, and that's why we did a short workout on Wednesday, because I was really under the weather. So that greatly affected my workouts this week, and super bummer for me because I really miss my heavy weight workouts, but I wanted to give my body a chance to heal, and I am quickly recovering, so I'll be back on track. And next week, you'll see our Take It Off 2017 page on my website, johngarytv.com, and you can anyone can check that out. You don't have to be a subscriber; anyone can check that out. And you're gonna see next week I'm gonna post we'll call them my beginning stats. So all my circumference measurements and all my body composition numbers. So I'm going to be posting that next week. I wanted to give myself this week to actually recover from my chest cold and maybe get a few workouts in so I feel a little bit better when we do those beginning numbers. Okay, but it's a starting point, and you'll see that next week. And this, probably tomorrow, actually tomorrow for sure, we are filming day 4 of my personal workout program, and that's going to be our upper body workout. So I'm doing a 5-day training program, and it's based off, I always get this wrong, bigger, stronger, leaner. Just guessing. What's that? Bigger, Leaner, Stronger by Mike Matthews. And I'm using that program. It's the first time I've ever in my life really lifted heavy consistently. And I've been doing it about a month now, and I am seeing results. So I'm super excited to get back on that. But tomorrow we're going to be filming day 4 of that. We'll edit it and we'll have it to you by the end of the weekend. All right? So look for that. That'll be our fitness workout for this week. And then, of course, Monday and Wednesday, live workouts at 9 a.m. So join me for those as well. All right, let's answer a question from a subscriber. Diane J. Commented on our video, Introducing Beginner Mat Work, which we put out a couple weeks ago, I think, Adam. Is that right? Yeah, I think it was a couple weeks ago. Okay, so here's her comment and question. Thank you for this. Could you confirm about, quote, grabbing the mat cue? Is it just having the sensation of utilizing the fingers to draw the mat towards you, taking pressure out of the wrist that way? I found this really useful for new clients with variations and modifications. Would love to see you take a truly new client through a succession of a typical 6-week intro program. Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Diane. I really appreciate you commenting. And this was one of my, I always say this, but they're all my favorites. They're like your children, you know, none of them are better than the others. But actually, I'm going to show you later. Some of them are better than others. But anyway, this Introducing Beginner Mat program, I like this one because it is working with a new client and how do you introduce mat work to them. So I talk in there about wrist issues. So a lot of clients have difficulty putting their full body weight or upper body weight on their extremity. So mainly it's wrist issues. So this is a really good question, and I cue in there about grabbing the mat. And we put together a quick video. Adam and I put together a quick video on this to show you wrist issues are super common. And so I want to show you this video, and then I'll come back and talk about it a little bit more. So Adam, will you roll the tape? Okay, so I've got 3 great tips for you for helping people keep the stress out of their wrists when they're doing plank work or any kind of work where they're supporting their body weight with their arms. So this is what I recommend. First, number 1, make sure that the foundation is strong. Just like a house, right? You want a really strong foundation. So make sure that you have all of the proper alignment ready to go before you get into the position. That's the first thing. Second thing, make sure that the periphery, the arm, is also set. So your shoulder blades are set where you want them to be set. They're not way up in your ears, or you're not already in a really poor position before you put weight on it. Next thing, remember that's part of a link in a chain. Make sure all the links in the chain are working. Next thing, make sure the elbow is not hyperextended when you get into your position. Make sure that you have a neutral as possible alignment in that elbow joint. And the third thing I'm going to talk about is get a grip on it. So number one, foundation. Number two, set the periphery. Number three, get a grip on it. And by that, I mean, don't put all the pressure in one part of your hand. You want to actually feel like you're grabbing the floor. So you're going to put pressure into the fingertips. You're going to push down on those. That helps disperse the weight throughout the whole chain so that when you get into this position, you're in a position of success to do whatever it is you're going to do. Hold your plank, go down into a push-up, etc., etc. As long as the foundation's secure, you've got all of the links in the chain connected, and then you get a grip on it, you should be good. If it's too much weight, you're going to notice that right away because one of those links in the chain is not going to work. The elbow is going to hyperextend, the scapula is going to wing, it's going to pull out again away from the rib cage, or the spine is not going to be able to stay secure. So once you see that happening, if you can't correct it by bringing awareness to it, then you're going to use a tool. The Halo Trainer is an awesome tool for this because it does a number of things at one time. First of all, it gives you a better wrist position, so you're not in as much extension of the wrist. You can actually have a more neutral position in the wrist, which is going to take pressure off of it. Then, it gives you something to grab. It gives you something for your whole hand to hold on to, sending a lot of messages through those proprioceptors in your hand up and down the chain that you're getting ready to put some load onto it. So from here, you hug it, make sure all of the foundation and the arms are secure, and then when you come up, notice that now my upper body is at an angle. So I have more weight on my legs than I did before, and I have less weight on my arms than I did before. So you're taking some of the resistance out of it. Really great, really useful tool. So what I did here though is really transferable to any time you're going to be using your hands on something that isn't a flat surface. So for instance, the foot bar on the reformer, same thing. Get a grip on it, hug that bar, not a death grip, but a hug on that bar will help you to connect the rest of the chain. And remember those 3 steps. Secure your foundation, get it set, secure the periphery, the links in the chain, get a grip on it. That should really help take the pressure off the wrist and help you move with success. That's our tip for today. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me. Those are just some suggestions that I found helpful. You may find that none of those works for you, but for a lot of people they will work. Just be sure that you're assessing any problems that you see when you're putting a client in that kind of plank position or supported on your arms body work position. And always remember, don't continue if the client is showing poor form. Always stop, correct the form, and go in. If you can't correct the form with awareness and correction, then you need to regress whatever the exercise is and start to address whatever issues seem to be there. Is it strength in the scapular stabilizers? Is it strength in the elbow stabilizers? Whatever it is, you need to take a step back and start to add that stuff into the client's workout. And never work out somebody who's experiencing pain in that area. Don't continue that. Make sure that you get the proper advice from the appropriate professional that can help them. Okay, so that's it for that one. Let me see where I'm at here. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is I want to start talking about the book that I just read, which is The Obstacle is the Way. And we're gonna actually start this off with an obstacle that I've been trying to overcome for nearly 22 years. So you'll understand that in a minute. There was plenty of footage to put together the next montage that Adam actually threw together for me. So I want to show that this is our intro to The Obstacle is the Way. And then I'll talk a little bit more after this video clip. So check this out. Whoops! Let me do that one again. Stop. Turn. Come on. Try that again. Down. Turn. Shoulder control. Got it. There we go. Man, that is bad. That's really bad. Oh my gosh. Oh man. You know, if you can't laugh at yourself, somebody else is going to. So anyway, let's talk about that a little bit. So I actually have used that obstacle, and that's what this book is about. We're going to talk about that in a second. But you know, the old clip that you saw in there was actually from the National Aerobic Championship in 1995. So that's why I said I've been dealing with this issue for 22 years. That little bobble, which slight little hop on the foot balance, was what the announcer said, has stuck with me for 22 years. It has haunted me. I am actually really good at balance work, except when I'm being videoed, except when there's an audience, or when I'm really focused on trying to show someone something. I choke. So anyway, so that is, I think that's hilarious. I love that. I'm probably going to end up watching that over and over again, that clip. But really what this comes around to is I haven't shied away from it. I still put myself out there. I still work on my balance. I do a lot of work on it, and I'm going to continue. So you're going to see probably a lot more of those bobbles going forward. And I used to be really nervous about like leaving those in the videos when I did them. And then, you know, I decided, what the heck? I need to show how you overcome that if something like that happens. Like, what do you do? And so I wanted our videos to be real, and they're real. There's quite a few times when I mess up, but we just keep it unless it's, you know, something, you know, that I think is unsafe or whatever. But anyway, so that actually came after I got the title of this book and was thinking about it. That whole thing came to me, and I decided to take a different perspective of that whole balance thing. And I've always been kind of shied away from talking about it or looking at it, and just kind of, you know, brushed over it and moved on. And so now my new approach is going to be, you know, head on. Let's see if I can do this. Let's see if I can get this balance move done in front of you, in front of the live audience. So I'm not going to do it right now, but you'll see me do that in the future. All right, so let's move on with talking more about The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, this book right here. So as you know, as I mentioned before, I'm obsessed with the Mentor Box. And the Mentor Box comes once a month, and it gives you the 2 books for that month. And then each book comes with a cheat sheet, which I absolutely love. I'm going to put the information about the Mentor Box in my blog post as well if you're interested in looking into it. But this is, it's mentorbox.com if you want to check it out. But this is such a cool thing because it says you don't have to read the book. And what I do actually is I read the cheat sheet, they have a little video that comes with it that explains the book a little bit more. And this one is great because the author actually was talking about the book, and I thought that was really cool. And then they have a workbook. And what's really great about this is not only did I get all the information I wanted to get out of this book and really found it fascinating, but I also was able to do this workbook and fill it out to help me remember the main concepts of it and to help me apply that information to my life. So the Mentor Box, sometimes it's financial books, sometimes it's books like this where it's about being, you know, improving, self-improvement. So it's always really interesting books though. So you should check that out. And like I said, this one that I'm talking about now, The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, is a really good kind of self-improvement book. And it really is based on the idea of Stoicism. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, but this all started from, I know I'm going to hopefully not wreck this name, from a Roman emperor, right? A Roman emperor in about 170 AD, Marcus Aurelius. So close. Anyway, so he wrote a whole bunch of stuff down. I'm going to talk about that in a second as well. But one of the things, he didn't create this philosophy, but he kind of wrote it down in different ways to help himself and to kind of get a better look at what he was doing. So more or less keeping a journal. And this is one of the quotes from it, and this is what the book is based on. And here's a quote from him: "Objective judgment now at this very moment. Unselfish action now at this very moment. Willing acceptance now at this very moment of all external events." That's all you need. And I think that's so pure and simple in the way it's stated. I think it's super challenging to do, and it's something that you have to work on over time, because for most people it doesn't come natural. And we're going to talk about those different aspects in a second. But that's the whole idea of Stoicism is really this author of this book, Holiday, says, the most effective formula for overcoming every negative situation we may encounter in life. And the idea is that you'll thrive not in spite of a situation, but because of it. And you see a lot of leaders that have overcome great obstacles and have used those obstacles to help them rise to a new level. And that's what this is all about, turning obstacles upside down. So another great quote is, "What stands in the way is the way," and that's really what this book is about. So one of the strongest messages I got from the book was really about that in and of itself, that this guy back in 170 AD, who was, a Roman leader, a Roman emperor, took the time to write stuff down. He kept really, solid journal. And what history has shown is that people who do that tend to do a lot better in life, and they tend to have these amazing things that they're able to create or do. And so that was the one thing that I really took away from this book. And I have done that off and on, kept a journal, write stuff down. But I've started doing it again because I think it's super important, and I think it's a really good way to kind of keep improving, to keep your goals right in the forefront, what you want to accomplish in life. And so that's one of my biggest takeaways from this book. The book actually has 3 different parts. And part 1 is about perception. And, I've read about this in other books. Other people have covered this topic a lot. And I think it's something worth repeating. And so that whole thing, that whole perception thing, we're going to take a photo right now. Okay, so the photo is because we're working with a camera that will automatically shut off somewhere between 25 and 30 minutes if we don't, use it. So, and it doesn't know it's being used when it's a video. So that's why you'll see that happen. And that's also a cue for me that we're 25 minutes, about 20 or 25 minutes into this. So let's get into the meat of it. So we were talking about perception. That's part 1 of this book. And really, to first overcome obstacles, we have to first change our attitude about them. And your perception of what happens is what you have control over. That's what this whole chapter is about. And I think that's such a really important thing to keep in mind. You don't have control over most of the things happening around you, outside of you. What you do have control of is how you respond to them and how you see those things. Nothing can make you feel a certain way except your choice to feel that way. And that can be really difficult. If you're used to always reacting the same way to something, it's hard to kind of break that and change it. But it's something that's super important, and it's a part of Stoicism, is really making sure that you take the I out of every problem and you look at it as objectively as possible. So really good for me, a really good lesson in all of life and how you view the things that happen in the outside world. The second part of this book deals with action. All right, so once you've kind of objectively identified what the obstacle is, then you need to take some action. And there's a really great quote, and I just noticed now that I didn't write down who said this, but I'll try to find out and put it in the blog post. But the quote is awesome. It says, "If you're not embarrassed by the first version of a product, then you launch too late." And I want to take a moment here and show you one of the very first videos that we did. Are we ready, Adam? Roll the tape. Hi, and thanks for joining us on JG Fit TV. Today's exercise of the day in half a minute is a bicep curl followed by a lateral raise. So start holding the weights in front, palms forward, do a half bicep curl, stop halfway up, rotate, bring the weights out to the sides, bring them back down, and with control, return back to the start position. That's our exercise of the day. Hope you enjoyed it. Join us again on JG Fit TV. Wasn't that special? All right, so that video was it 2.5 years ago, Adam? 2.5 years ago. We did not even have our website up yet. We were just shooting videos so that we had something to put on the website when we built it. And we were basically putting them up on Facebook and YouTube to try to help build an audience for when we launched our site. And so that's one of the very first videos that we did. And I just want to talk about a couple things. First of all, we were back in the very corner of the big set that we have. This is actually our third set in the same space that I'm sitting at now. So I don't know why we felt that we had to film all the way back in the corner of this big warehouse, but that's what we did. And the set itself, we had a trampoline on the set. Just crazy stuff. And I think I looked a little deer in headlights. I probably still do sometimes. But, one of the things is we've often talked about, should we take those first videos off? And the content is good. The content is there. But that has evolved so much. It started out as the exercise of the day in less than in less than half a minute. And I think that was even 37 seconds. I don't even think it was a half a minute. But we quickly realized that I was not going to be able to show very much if I said who I was and who we were, and I had to set up an exercise and do it. So you could see I only did one repetition of it. So we quickly changed that to just the move of the day, and then we changed that to what we have now, which is our exercise demo. And we've also changed the set. We've moved things around. We've added better sound quality, better music choices, I think. So anyway, but one of the things that I'm looking forward to is looking back on these first Q&As and going, oh my gosh, can you believe we did that? Which could actually happen tomorrow. But, but I'm looking forward to see where this goes as well. So promise we won't erase them either. Okay, so this takes us into that second part, which is action. And we weren't ready to launch our website yet, but we had to take action. We had to start shooting videos. We needed to make something happen. And then finally, we were able to, we felt that the website was at least good enough to launch with. It was a product that people would want to be a part of. And then we built on that, and we looked back and saw things and hit major obstacles throughout the way, and we just keep moving forward. And that is this whole idea of action, of taking action. Let me see what I've got here. I've got more on this part. Okay, so one of the points that the book makes is that a lot of times we try to tackle things head on. So in other words, a competitor comes into town and opens up next to you if you have a studio, and your first instinct might be to tackle them head on. And one of the things that this book talks about is maybe not going head on against something that might actually be providing something different than you are or whatever, but how do you bypass the problem? How do you, instead of focusing on them, focus on yourself and focus on, and this was one of the things we talked about a couple weeks ago in terms of, or even last week in terms of competition, was really focusing on what you do best. It was the business talk that Mike and I had last week. And it's such an important part of what you do because there's always going to be competition, and how you view the competition, you could see that as an obstacle or you could see that as an opportunity. And so what you want to do is see how that obstacle is an opportunity for you. And so that is what that section is about, and I think that's a really positive section and a really good part of the book. Then we come to our third part of the book, which is about will, all right? So this is really about your ability to keep going. You know, it's about your will to keep going. It's about embracing what happens no matter what it is. And, you know, there's that saying, this too shall pass. And that's really part of this. You've got to really build yourself from the inside out. You've got to really think about, you know, what's happening inside, because that's what you have control over. And if you look at, like, you know, what's your biggest project right now? And then you think about what can go wrong with that. And then, so this is a really good way to kind of approach this. What can go wrong? Think of all the things that can go wrong, and then how are you going to react to that? What is going to be your reaction? Now, none of those things may happen. Maybe something completely different is going to happen, and a lot of times that's what happens. But when you get into the habit of thinking, okay, how do we go around this obstacle? How do we use this obstacle to our benefit? It really makes a big difference. It really changes the way that you see things, and then it changes the way that you act, and then it changes what happens from there. So I think that's a really, really cool thing. All right, so let's move on. Perseverance. So we're talking about the difference between persistence and perseverance. So persistence is action, which is a good thing, but perseverance is better because it's endurance. It's a powerful way of dealing with adversity by seeing it in the context of a much longer haul. So one of the things that you can do is kind of meditate on your own mortality. And this is something we did on the John Gary Show, season 2. We asked people when they're gone what people would want, what would they want people to remember about them. And actually, when you meditate on that, when you think about your own mortality, like death knocking at the door, there really isn't any room for anything but Stoicism. You kind of, like, everything else kind of falls away, and you think about, okay, how can I get where I want to go? How can I look at things more objectively and use them to my advantage? And I think that's a really great message that comes from this book, The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. So I encourage you to get it. And before we finish, I want to actually, let me check in with Adam. Are there any more questions or anything for me today? If you guys have questions, you can write them down, send them to us. Most of the questions and comments that we address come from after the show is broadcast. So please fill them in the comments section, and we will address them next time. Before we finish today, I want to talk about one more of the chapters in this book, and I kind of, it's a part of the will section, but it's one of the chapters in this book, The Obstacle is the Way. And I thought it was a really good one to end on. It's focusing on something bigger than yourself, which I think is a really good way to approach life. And in the mentor box that I got, there was a quote from a guy named Henry Rollins, and you can find him on YouTube. He's in... I can't remember. What's the name of Big Think is the name of the channel that he's on. And he is an artist, but in 2012, he narrated a piece that he wrote called Letter to Young Americans. And I want to just read a quote from there to finish our broadcast from today, because I think I'll put all of the information about it in my blog later, so you can watch the whole thing, because it's really, really good. But I think this is a really good way to end today. And so I'm going to read this quote by Henry Rollins from 2012. He said, "There's no better time than now to have a moral and civic backbone, to have a moral and civic true north. This is a tremendous opportunity for you to be heroic, morally upstanding, helpful, almost Boy Scout-like, presidential, altruistic." There's a lot more to that speech, but I really encourage you to watch that video from Big Think on YouTube with Henry Rollins, because I think it's got a really great message, not just for young Americans, but for the whole world. And I hope you'll watch that. And I hope you'll send us any questions or comments that you have for this show, and I'll address them next week. Thanks for joining me for this episode. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Goodbye, everybody.